Private Muhammad Adamu with a service number 21NA800365 has been identified as the alleged killer of a woman stabbed inside the 82 Division of the Airborne and Amphibious of the Nigerian Army. The body was discovered by the daughter of an army lieutenant who was delivering food to the father working on their farm near the division officer's quarters. The knife used in the killing was also found near the body, which was wrapped in the hijab the lady was wearing. According to report, so senior military officers speaking anonymously claimed that the suspect was a repentant Boko Haram member who joined the Civilian Joint Task Force before being enlisted in the Nigerian Army in 2021. However, the Nigerian Army denies ever enlisting repentant Boko Haram members and emphasizes that the accused was only a member of the Civilian Joint Task Force, CJTF, who demonstrated commitment and loyalty, which led to his consideration for enlistment. A Private Adamu Muhammad, the soldier accused of the murder, is currently in detention pending further investigation and the motive behind his action. And joining us to do justice to this topic, we have Barrister Henry Akine, and here in the studio we have Mr. Akin Fatunke. And now to you, Barrister, you've listened to the story, and Nigerian Army said they did not recruit any repentant Boko Haram member, but now they are also of the opinion that this man, talking about the private who killed a woman in the 2nd Division in Enugu State, was once a Joint Task Force member who they considered to put or to enlist to be part of the Nigerian Army. What do you make of this? Do you see the Army shooting themselves on the leg by dropping that particular statement?
Yes, first, it's unfortunate, it's condemnable, and I really condole the family of the deceased. But then I wonder what kind of statement, a squid statement, and if you like, roving around, whether they recruited the assailant. In this case, it doesn't matter whether it's a state agent. I've always said that once a state agent departs from his constitutional or statutory function and constitutes and then behaves in any manner that constitutes an offense or any crime, it's like any other person. So the assailant now that has murdered someone, and then the Nigerian Army to either deny, how did he get to Enugu? Is it in Enugu we have the civilian JTF? To the best of my knowledge, if at all, we had that, if you like, that expression of any group of individuals that may have volunteered to support the state agents, was it the Northeast fight against Boko Haram? I am not sure that we had any civilian JTF in that regard in Enugu. And if that is true, if that's even the position, then what's the distinction between recruiting an individual into the Nigerian Army, whether as direct recruit or as another component of the Nigerian Army, which we have come to know now as volunteers, civilian JTF, our members of the civilian JTF. So whichever way the Nigerian Army will describe that and then purport to deny whether the gentleman is one of their men or personnel, the fact is that he has committed murder. Whether it's the full military personnel recruited as a recruit or through the NDA, he has committed murder. And then the law should just get through him. And that's what's fundamental. But beyond that, when we talked about, when this issue arose some 1 or 2 years ago, and then some of us were concerned about the recruitment or reported recruitment or intention, as it were, of repentant militants or repentant terrorists or whatever it was. We are concerned about the orientation of these individuals. We are concerned as to whether they actually have gone through some thorough, if you like, therapy to be able to get them really reintegrated into society, let alone into the armed forces, any aspect of our armed forces, to the extent that they will bear arms and then they will carry out legitimate statutory duties as such armed forces or such security agents may be empowered to carry out. There was palpable concern at the time. And I think if this is coming from a reported repentant terrorist, then we have more to expect, because indeed it was fact that the Nigerian state reported at the time, even if not in this administration, that those who repented from Boko Haram, they described them as repentant terrorists, were accommodated somewhere and then reported that they were going through some kind of rehabilitation to be able to get them integrated not only in society but even conscripted, or if you like, recruited into the armed forces. And if that has happened and this is the result of what we are seeing, then we have more to expect, and that would be unfortunate. So I think if the defense headquarters is serious about this, then is to pull these individuals out of the system and then ensure that indeed they have actually given them that required therapy, and then of course taken through a serious reorientation, and be sure that they really have become repentant and reorientated to be able to get into the armed forces, let alone into society.
Well, thank you very much, Barrister. Unfortunately, we have to let you go because we do understand that you have other engagements. We appreciate you for coming. I appreciate you for your thoughts on the program.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's my pleasure. And I appreciate always to be on this platform, please.
Thank you, too. All right, let's come to Mr. Akin Fatunke. Now, in 2022, about 13,360 Boko Haram members were said to have, laid down their arms and basically denounced the sect and sought some sort of amnesty from Nigeria. And they were said to be undergoing some sort of de-radicalization so they could be reintegrated into the society. Now, the numbers have increased. It's not just about 13,000. There's a whole lot more than that. Now, when you de-radicalize people that have an ideology, some would liken this to the Niger Delta militancy and how they were de-radicalized, and also amnesty was given. Amnesty proposal has come up a lot of times for members of Boko Haram or the recently christened bandits or whatever you choose to call them. A lot have been said about de-radicalization, reintroduction into society, and things like that. Now, what would you say is the best way to go when people like this are said to be repentant? What would be the best way to go, the best way to handle them? Should we even consider amnesty? Now, there's a whole lot more going on. Because, I mean, if we want to throw this further, cast the net, we'll also look at the fact that some of them were handed over to Borno State government, for reintegration into society. And we also have issues of Chibok girls, kidnapped girls, being held in sort of quasi-hostage, not being allowed to go back to their families, some of them being married out to these repentant activists, and some of them not even being allowed to mingle with their family members. Some refer to these people as husbands of the girls. There's a whole lot more. But how do you react to all of this, really?
My first reaction will be to send my commiseration, and I believe she will have families, to Buakulu Tabira, that Fira said that was stabbed. I read in some other reports that her throat was slit. And so slitting of throats is boiling fellow human beings, whether in Okwama or elsewhere. Burning is now become a thing that we virtually begin to see more on a regular basis. And so, my reaction, Moses, 5-letter word, Truth. Truth. T-H-R-U-T. Oh, yeah, that's 6 letters.
T-R-U-T-H.
Truth. When you begin to look at the truth, and you begin to look at fairness, I mean, it's an euphemism for governance. Then you begin to do things the way they should be done so that you can reap what needs to be reaped. We seem, in my own honest opinion, I know that the late Yaradua had a good reason why he adopted a kinetic characteristic for the Niger Delta. And now, so Northeast too is now thinking in that direction, albeit a very good project that we needed to have stemmed, now keeps on festering. The barrister made a point about civilian task force.
Yeah.
They don't have any inkling or any alignment with the East. Yes and no. We have a Nigerian armed forces where these people can be posted into different places. The real thing is that what is going to get into the mind of any human being who now have a lover, a wife, a child, and you decide that either because you don't like him or her, and then the next thing is, you started by pouring acid, and then, the person will be sleeping at night, and then you look for a hot iron. Not just the military now. House help, house aides. We need the truth about a total reorientation. But he made a point that we need to get back to the drawing boards and begin a process of looking at ourselves. Who are we? Nationally, we should be talking about population. Each state, how many of our residents, how many people who are not necessarily residents, but you call them cousins, you bring them from here and there, you call them herdsmen and all that. How do we begin the process of identification? I am happy, hopefully, that the New Hope agenda is one that will now take a data print of everybody. Who are we?
Identification. But
who are we? So that we can begin the process.
By the military.
Now, the military
have not denied him.
Now, the military. I have been a spokesman. And one of the things, again, I use the word truth. When you are a spokesman and you don't hinge things on truth, it will always have a way of, showing a lie. Number one, the barrister made a statement. Are we saying we do not have infiltration within the military? Just in Lagos, when they were doing recruitment somewhere was in Oshodi, we saw people from other areas.
That in itself would answer the question of the military conducting making sure that they look into those that they employ.
Same with the police. Same with the yellow fever. Same with all of us. A president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at one point in time, a former president said he looked right and left, and he saw that in the Aso Rock that he was residing, he saw fifth columnists. A senator of the Federal Republic got up in the National Assembly and said he looked right and left. He saw people that should not be here. It is a jambalaya of things that we should, but now that we're talking about the military, yes, I agree. I think Lagbaja should now get back, and the Chief of Army Staff should now get back to now then saying, let's do a census. At one point in time, Moses, in the Bible, in the book of Numbers, let's really number ourselves. Let's know who is who. Finally, Moses, if I have a tendency, you will look at it and say, look, this guy is not behaving right and behaving funny. I must not keep that to myself. This Adamu guy that did that, I'm sure his other colleagues must have witnessed some untoward things.
This brings me to another
Is
question.
that not when they should not be talking? I suspect this.
This brings me to another question of debriefing and psychoanalysis of people that bear arms.
Yes.
We've seen cases where they are maybe they have a post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever, and they misuse the arms. Yes. We've seen cases where sergeants are killing their superior officers. We've seen many cases. I mean, one happened in Lagos some time back where the police officer killed the wife and then absconded because he was distressed or something. What is the role of, do we even have psychologists working with armed forces to ensure that they are in the right frame of mind before they are made to bear arms? Now, I'm going to also, you might also need to react to this story. I want to put this one out there. The one that happened in, is it Enugu now? Enugu or Abia?
Abia.
The hotel.
Abia State.
Okay. In Abia State, where
a cadet gone drowned.
Military, pardon?
A cadet gone drowned.
Yes, a cadet drowned in a swimming pool. And then officers of the military decided to torture the manager of the hotel, and they tortured him to death. Isn't that taking laws into their own hands? What does the law say? We've also seen cases where members of the armed forces will come in, they will tell you that, look, I will kill you, nothing will happen.
So let's begin to unbundle them. Quite a number of things that you have put together. The first one, we have enough psychologists in the ministry. I'd like to let you know that the Nigerian military have some of the most qualified and best in the Medicare. Anywhere, whether you look at it back in the day in the Commonwealth, up till lately. But Moses, don't forget, JAPA has come into being. What kind of compensation do you think you give? You know, we may be looking at military, but let's look at it holistically. Nigeria has been run aground, my dear brother, and then come back to the issue of the cadet. Are we seeing this for the first time? That movie has played itself out before. Nigeria has been turned into lawlessness. Clearly, no doubt about that. And one of the reasons why that is festering is because we have not been given appropriate punishment and reward. I always say punishment must have to come with reward. You will see officers or you see civilians who have behaved well above board. They are the ones that we should be pulling up, getting all the promotions. But the situation whereby somebody that is mentally deranged, either because of federal character principle that has gone awry, will just then decide that, well, it's your turn, you have to get in there. Or that he stays in there, people who are much more sane think that this is not a way for us. So the way to go about this is a total overhaul, I dare say, a total overhaul of the system. And let's start with the process. I expect that Adamu, that is in Enugu now, we need clear-cut, immediate action, make it open. It's not something that you want to hide under the table. But you want to hide it under the table, perhaps if you have, say for instance, if you have lied, you know, if given that these are not radicalized people, let's go back to the basics and tell ourselves the truth. Let's begin to do it right from now. Go back and revamp the whole system and make sure, how will you on earth give an AK-47 to a police officer, you ask him to stay by the wayside to be collecting the egunjes and the okukos. And we all see it. Everything is convoluted. Nigeria needs a total reorientation bound on governance. Secondly, again, to what we were discussing before, Nigeria has become an omnibus geographical area. Can we find a way to sit down together and think of how we can go, whether you call it agitation, whether you call it a referendum or whatever it is, yes, and then decide without necessarily shedding blood on a way we need to govern ourselves. So whether it's security,
okay,
whether it's economics,
I see that
whether in other areas.
You're already giving your concluding thoughts.
Yes.
And we are pressed for time.
Yes.
But,
the concluding thought is that Nigeria is not working the way it should work, and the only way is to
before you give your concluding thoughts. Let me drop this. Now, talking about punitive measures,
yes.
We know that sometimes we've seen erring officers or or soldiers or policemen being dismissed from the force.
Yeah.
When they are
after appropriate court martialing and all that. Yeah.
Court martialed and then dismissed. Some have argued that that's not even punitive enough. Dismissal isn't punitive enough because these people have knowledge of how to bear arms, they are trained, and then they are thrown out there. It is even said that more often than not, other crimes that are perpetrated are done by these people because they have experience.
Moses, how is it done elsewhere? They are not just thrown out there. I am saying the Nigerian system is convoluted. We do short-circuiting. They should not just be thrown out. You have to make sure that you follow up on them. Nigeria used to be like that. So what's gone wrong now? Is it that we now have a population that we are not able to plan for and feed? Is it because of corruption? Monies that have been set aside, because normally our budgeting system should be, look, for this kind of thing, people that are going to go to correctional centers, that are going to prison, food that is meant for correctional centers is being whacked by complicit middle. So the whole thing is gone convoluted. Can we go smaller, like I said, my closing thought, so that at the ward level, at the local government level, there should be some accountability. There are certain things that should happen in there. It should not be the man at the federal, that everything goes wrong, the man at the federal. Everything goes wrong is the governor in the center. Let's make sure that we get ourselves into ways and means, knowing fully well that we need to control population. We need to educate ourselves. We need to orientate ourselves. We have to take care of our mental health and capacities. I can put it to you, whether in military or elsewhere, the number of people out there who are not altogether upstairs are much more than the number of people that we put in schools. And that's why you have a ragtag army go to Agodi and say they want to overthrow government. You know these are things that you hardly just wonder that it's only somebody who is not mentally balanced that will do some of those things.
All right.
Governance at the end of the day
is the way to go. Okay. All right, then we must say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Akin Fatunke, for your thoughts there.
Thank you very much, Moses. Thank you, Fina. And David King. Thanks, listeners, for listening.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll get into business, entertainment, and sports.
When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right